and we're allowing 5 minutes for this self-introduction. Then we'll ask candidates to respond to a series of questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to address the same question. We'll alternate the order of response with each question. Now, all these questions have been developed by a committee of the Rotary Club of Lahaina Sunset, led by our Public Relations Director, Norm Bazane. Special thanks to Norm and to Co-President Liz May for all their work in bringing this forum together and for letting the community know what's happening here tonight. Some questions that we're going to be giving this evening may be based on those submitted to the club by residents of Maui. To help our candidates monitor the time limit, Liz May is going to signal each candidate when the 2-minute time limit has been reached on questions or the 5-minute time limit on self-introduction. So we're going to ask each candidate to please respect the time limit. We have 2 requests for the audience this evening. Number 1, please turn off pagers and cell phones if you would. Number 2, since this is an educational forum and not a partisan political event, we're going to ask you to please refrain from any show of support for or opposition to either of the candidates or their remarks this evening. In other words, please no cheering, booing, applause, or political statements from the floor, and thank you. Now, we do want to begin by expressing our appreciation on behalf of the entire West Maui community to the 2 candidates for being with us this evening. Our thanks to each of you for caring enough about this community to run for mayor. Becoming a candidate, and if elected, serving as mayor, represents one of the highest expressions of service to this community. The 2 candidates are Alan Arakawa and Tamara Halton. So to begin this evening, I'll ask each candidate to please take 5 minutes to tell us about yourself and why you are running for mayor. I'd like to begin with Ms. Halton, if you please, and you can have your choice of wired or wireless.
Aloha kako. I'm Tamara Halton, and I'm running for mayor of Maui County because I love Maui really, and I believe county government can do much better than the status quo. I was born and raised in Hawaii, and as a mother, I want my children and future generations to be able to grow up enjoying what is unique and special about our islands. I want all of our children to be able to pursue good-paying jobs here in Maui County that don't force them to choose between the environment and the economy. I realize the importance of focusing on solutions with an equal interest in the present and the future. I care about jobs and the world our keiki will inherit. I understand the realities of today and envision a better tomorrow. As Maui County Mayor, I will provide an administration that balances social, economic, and environmental factors to facilitate the smart growth our residents want to see. I believe that our current mayor hasn't shown the leadership, integrity, and creativity needed to help Maui County thrive. He's not worked to fix the problems that you and I see. I'm a 13-year county employee and ocean safety officer who has worked hand in hand with the emergency services on the 911 system, and I have been active in our community for over a decade, testifying before county government, participating in the general plan process, and working to save Honolulu Bay. I have a vision for the future of Maui County. It's a future where all of our basic needs are met in a sustainable way, where infrastructure has a chance to catch up with existing as well as planned population growth, and where our people, keiki tu kupuna, are included in decision-making processes. It is the everyday people who live here, the communities and their needs, that are my #1 concern. One of my main priorities will be no interruption of county services. Even if my administration does not receive all the funding requested in our budget proposal, resident services such as trash removal and landfill hours will not be the first cuts made. Our county administration must be able to manage at the pace of change. Our leaders must be willing to involve residents and frontline county workers as true partners in the effort to shape our county as we move forward. We have the technology that makes mass collaboration possible, practical, and wise. If we do not take advantage of the communication tools available at our fingertips, we will not be able to move forward, and the Maui County will not be as successful as we can be. I'm a leader that will help us transition into the 21st century. I know that in this hyper-connected world, it is more important to be transparent and collaborative than in control, because no one person is smarter than all of us put together. I will raise morale amongst county employees by listening to their concerns and addressing long-term problems, thus enabling them to better serve our residents and visitors. I look forward to opening the lines of communication with the newly hired county auditor, the council, and the community to come up with a balanced budget that reflects our current and long-term needs and invests our communities as detailed in the county-wide policy plan. I want Maui's residents to have more access to good-paying jobs, truly affordable housing, higher education, vocational and leadership training, quality medical care, and healthy, locally grown foods, as well as a sense of community. The goal of my candidacy is to help educate, engage, and empower our people to create economic prosperity without sacrificing the beauty and aloha that we all love. My platform is to increase communication, transparency, and accountability while promoting community-based economic development. Instead of shutting down communication between the various branches of government, we need to facilitate more appropriate communication in the interests of cutting down government waste and bureaucracy to build collaborative networks. Together we can do this. Collaboration, solutions, change. Mahalo.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming, and thanks for inviting us here to discuss some of the issues that we have here in Lahaina and Maui County. Now, Maui County is a very diverse county that has many, many different aspects to it. And the leader of Maui County is going to have to be able to understand all of the different aspects of it as you deal with various members of the community, from Molokai to Lanai, Hana, Nahiku, as well as Lahaina, Kihei, Kahului. All of these different areas have different challenges we have to be able to work with. And the experience that I have in being able to go through all of the different communities for over 2 decades now has allowed me to know a lot of the leadership within the communities and to be able to work on a lot of projects that the community has asked for. Here in Lahaina, for instance, we're working on Mokuoa and recreating Mokuhinia, which is the fish pond and the old capital of here. We're able to work with Waianae Poko, which is one of the areas that was the most sought after by this community to create the Palikikuamana beach access to the park. We're well on our way to do that. We've already bought Ikumehae. And we're working with various other aspects of this community to make sure that we're protected from everything from tsunamis to hurricanes, working on the civil defense system. Now, I grew up here on Maui, and we grew up on a farm. And we learned very early on what hard work was. From the time that we were very young, we put in long hours. We learned to work with the vegetables, we learned to work with animals. And we learned that if you don't do the work, you don't accomplish anything. Which is why you'll notice that I put in very long hours. We put in 10 to 12 hours a day, minimum. Most of the time I'm out doing something at 7 o'clock in the morning and I don't get to bed till 1 or 2 o'clock at night. So it's a question of how much time and energy you want to put in. Someone who wants to be mayor cannot just come in and try to learn how government works. You have to be able to deal with all of the different agencies that already exist. You have to know how the police department works, who the key players are. You have to know how public works work. What are the different divisions? How do each of the areas create what the community needs? Because if you're going to be able to accomplish anything in the community, you have to be able to understand what it takes to accomplish it. To want to put up a building, you have to understand how the permitting system works. You have to understand how you're going to have to deal with the state. You're going to have to understand a lot of different parts to make anything work and how long it takes and how you're going to get the funding. That takes years to be able to understand. To create a county budget, our county budget is over $600 million. To be able to understand where all of that money goes, because we're accountable for every penny, one has to be able to understand how that funding is going to be utilized, what the different programs of each of the departments are, what's ongoing, what needs to be done. And one has to understand the timetable for each of these issues. Because I've been doing this for so long, I do understand how it's going to work, which is why you're noticing a lot of the roads are being paved. You're noticing that water systems are being worked on, our sewer systems are being worked on. We're working with trying to create new energy with alternative energy, so you're seeing a lot of photovoltaic systems going in. We're redoing many of the structures that we have within our county, and we're trying to become much more efficient. As mayor, we want to continue what we're doing. We want to make it better and better. I will tell you that the best judge of what kind of business we're doing actually comes from our bond, people that are doing our bond rating. And this is Standard & Poor's, Moody's, and Fitch all gave Maui County a AA+, AA1 rating, which is the top in the state. People that are bidding for our bonds. JP Morgan Securities, there were 15 companies that bid for it. People like JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, they actually bought our bonds for 2.63%, which is the lowest in the state. And we have every confidence that what we're doing puts us in the upper 5% in the nation. That's good management. Management continue. Thank you.
Thank you to both of our candidates. And now we're going to begin the questions. We're going to address the first question to Mr. Arakawa. Then we'll ask Ms. Halton to answer the same question, 2 minutes for each. And the first question is, Mr. Arakawa, if elected mayor, what are the top 3 priorities you would seek to accomplish during your term, and why are these priorities important to the people of Maui County?
Thank you very much. That's a lot of priorities in 2 minutes. So I'm not going to be able to get into very much detail. One is to acquire a lot of property so that we're able to preserve a lot of areas, like Maui Poco, Pukolehami, Central Maui, we've got 209 acres. Paia, we're going to be picking up another 30 acres. If we can conserve a lot of these areas, and we can develop the areas into areas like ball fields, we'll be able to take care of a lot of the needs for our children. If we develop sports complexes, and what we're looking at right now is over tripling all of the different areas for active sports that we have. That will allow a lot of the children to be able to work in active areas so that they have adult supervision. And the children that have adult supervision generally don't get into trouble. We're working very hard to try and create an area where we're redoing a lot of our county facilities so we're no longer renting. All the money that we spend in rent, all we end up with is a bunch of receipts, as Bison says. What we want to do is we want to build our own facilities and not rent so we can save money doing that. The third aspect of what we're trying to do is we're trying to look at all of our basic infrastructure, and we're trying to find a logical way to be able to address a lot of the infrastructure challenges. Now, nothing is perfect, and we've been working with bad infrastructure for a long time. But somebody has to start working on creating things in a logical way. So how we're addressing water, how we're addressing wastewater, how we're addressing our roads, how we're addressing county facilities, all come into play. And we're going to be working on those and continue working on those. Many of the construction areas we're working on were well underway in plans, but it will take 3, 4, up to 20 years to be complete on this. And I'm running out of time to go to.
Thank you very much, Ms. Halpin.
My top 3 priorities when I take office are infrastructure, accountability, and management. We're facing hundreds of millions of dollars of fines from the EPA starting. They will assess civil penalties starting March of next year. So that would be my #1 goal, is to avoid fines of up to $100,000 a day and create the system where we can reuse more of our wastewater for agricultural purposes. As for accountability, I think we need to start a discussion about transitioning away from appointed managing director to a council-hired managing director, similar to how the county auditor is hired. So we can get a professional city manager that doesn't change each time the administration changes, and we can track the progress being made for the people that don't change every time the administration changes. I know it's going to be a long process, so just starting the discussion of that would be a huge factor in the systemic problems that our county government faces. The third issue, management. I think that, for day-to-day functions, the top-down command and control hierarchy is good. But for addressing long-term problems, we need to be a lot more collaborative. If chain of command solved long-term problems, we wouldn't have them because they would be solved already. So I think we need to get more involved with the frontline workers, empower them to let us know what the solutions that they see that might work, and discuss, putting those out there. Mahalo.
The second question will be answered by Ms. Halton first. What are the key characteristics it takes to be successful as mayor, and how would you assess your own qualifications for the position?
I think as Mayor Arakawa stated earlier, we need to be familiar with all aspects of the county, but more than that, I think that we need to have a mayor would need to have a willingness to listen, to be open-minded, to hear other points of view that may not necessarily agree with, but be able to work that into the solution so that everybody feels that they're being heard and their concerns are important to the administration. There's no way to satisfy everybody, but you can listen to everybody and you can include them in solutions that the county pursues. I think as well the mayor needs to have participated in government, for the past decade or so, and from the outside in, it's difficult, but from the inside out, what has been accomplished is what I would like to know. There are many problems that are the same as they were 10 or 20 years ago, as long as my opponent has been in office, that are still here. So we need to assess results as well as qualifications. Thank you.
Ma'am, you're going to answer the same question? question is, what are the key characteristics it takes to be successful as mayor, and how would you assess your own qualifications for this position?
Thank you very much. I think one of the key qualifications is to actually be a people person. You have to enjoy working with people. You have to be willing to put in the time to listen to a lot of people, which is why I run radio shows, which is why we do community meetings, which is why I go to so many different clubs and participate in so many different events, to be able to really get to talk to people within the community and work with people in the community. You also need to have a lot of compassion, and you have to have an understanding of what's happening in our community. Now, my wife and I have been caregivers of our parents since we were 30 years old, and I'm 63 now. So for many, many years, we split our lives between raising our family, getting our careers, and also taking care of parents. And that requires understanding the social service network, requires being able to understand what it takes from the community to be able to survive. You know, there are many, many different aspects where people talk about things that they think should be done, but the actions really should be judged by what people do. I've been a board member for about half the nonprofits. I've sat in on thousands and thousands of meetings, not because they were the most interesting, but because part of my job requires that I understand what's going on in the community. Someone who's going to be mayor needs to have that same kind of tenacity to literally sit in on thousands of meetings to be able to understand what people in the community really want. When we go around for budget hearings, we're asking people, what is it that you want for your communities? You have to be able to understand not only what they want, but how you're going to be able to attain it. The mayor has to be able to solve solutions for the community. Administration is the one that actually has to solve almost every problem, new problem solvers, whereas council is really figuring out what the problems are. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question, and we'll begin this question with Mayor Arakawa, and then Ms. Fulton next. Although the mayor does not set the final county budget, what projects in West Maui are needed to improve our infrastructure or meet other needs?
Thank you very much. The reality is that the mayor does set over 90% of the budget that's occurring in any part of the county. The council does not really work within the departments for a lot of the budget. We have to understand what the particular projects are in this area. Some of the projects that we're working on in Lahaina